Would you believe it's Doctor Doom? What's on your mind? How about this movie with a new Mr. Star?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Oh, I can't hear your sound effects. That's strange.
What's that?
I said I couldn't hear your sound effects.
Oh, that's interesting. I have it on my recording like you were coming in on mono.
Even though I was hearing your stuff earlier, so that was weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
All right. Starting off swimmingly, folks. But anyway, we'll work that out.
That's very weird.
Yeah. A couple of kinks to work out as we had to switch to some new stuff in this week's recording. But first, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky. You can also find me at News Need on Twitter and Blue Sky and CB Caps on Instagram. Okay, that's weird because it came in, but it kind of cut out.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with with the trailer as you played it too.
This could be the signs of the new Discord era showing its rearing its ugly head.
Right.
So we will work that out. But right now, the voice you just heard, if not the sound effects, come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70. Uh-oh.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, I shouldn't hit that. Apparently, that's what happens when you click reload.
Yes, and there we go. There we go. You're back in the fold now. Anyway,
Interesting.
Yeah, the voice you heard come from none other than a man, agent_70.
What's up, everybody? I'm gonna pick something good. Did you hear that?
That definitely came in muffled.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
That came in fine.
That's so weird. I wonder if they're muffling music.
Discord, I think, does have a ducking thing.
I'm turning off the noise suppression.
So that
That might be it.
Maybe because I don't have it on my end. So
place where certain things.
That came in fine.
Yeah, it's the noise suppression. I just turned it off.
Okay, there we go. Mystery solved, Gumshoes. Now let's get.
There you go. We're troubleshooting on the fly.
Yeah, and giving me more work to do later on. But folks, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. You can find us at the Coleslaw the Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like your Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coleslaw the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. All right, folks. So, little catch up here. One, Skype's going, RIP Skype. So we're using something else, Discord. So you might see a little, if you're watching the video version, you might see some flashes of things going on. Don't panic. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. It's that split. It's not that split. But, we're doing things. We're using what we got, folks. And also, because we did not have a show last week, we are going to be, briskly doing a couple of things here and going through 2 weeks worth of.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit to cover.
and Andor. But before we get to that, we are going to talk about actually the series that came out on Star Wars Day, which happy Star Wars Day, and Revenge of the 5th and 6th for all of those folks. Tales of the Underworld, which I admittedly totally forgot was coming out until I turned on Disney Plus, or until I got on social media that day and saw that it was out. I was like, oh, right, I forgot totally about this. But
Right.
But yeah, Tales of the Underworld. If you remember the other two, Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Resistance, I can't remember what the other one was. So basically, six short animated spots. This usually surrounding a couple of people. In this case, it was two fan favorite characters, honestly. So I'll let Agent 70 kind of get into.
No, I was gonna say one character had her kind of present / future explored, and one character had their past explored. And and both were very enlightening when it comes to like the how characters choose to adapt and kind of grow from what we've always known them to be, or how they've become what we've always known them to be. So that was pretty interesting. Just it's not a true spoiler, but there's 2-3 episode sequences here, arcs, and the first one revolves around Asajj Ventress, and the second one revolves around Cad Bane, and it proved to be pretty interesting. I really liked the story that the Cad Bane trio of little mini episodes told, because that was pretty dark. That was dark as hell. When it comes down to it, there's a little twist right at the end of the story, and you're left to see how dark that path was that Cad Bane traveled to get to where he is, when we meet him during the Clone Wars, when we meet him probably even right up to the point where we last see him in the last time we see him. Is that in Book of Boba Fett, or is that in Mandalorian? I can't remember.
Well, I guess it depends on whether you're going chronologically or whatnot, because I want to say basically yes. But last time we actually saw him was Book of Boba Fett, but in the timeline, I think that's before the last time you would see him in. I think was he in Rebels? I think he just showed up in Rebels at one point. I might be wrong about that. I can't remember. I feel like Rebels was probably in timeline sense would be the last time we saw him, but I'm not sure. So either way, took the Book of Boba Fett one for the last actual time we saw him prior to this. Because I don't want to get into all of that.
I'm pretty sure Book of Boba Fett comes, timeline wise, well after Rebels. So,
yeah, I'm not sure, but either way, it still works out. But the only other thing I will say about the Tales of the Underworld stuff. So if for Cad Bane's part, if you are familiar with Westerns to a point, I mean, some of that's going to be kind of familiar as far as that is concerned. And some other type of similar stories. So I can't think of anything that would probably give it completely away, but it's not like it's like brand new ground. It's familiar ground, but it's brand new to the character. And I'm kind of curious if we will actually see anything come from that little, as Agent 70 said, twist at the end. Come up someplace, because that'll be very curious if it does. As far as the Ventress stuff, I know Agent 70 said that he was kind of not necessarily confused, but he was like, "Wait, what?" at the beginning because of because of how it started. Which, granted, if I will go ahead and spoil it, and I'm pretty sure this is out there by now that hey. Because of the nature of what happens at the beginning, some people will probably be confused as to why this is the case, unless you
They're
read
gonna
a
go
certain
straight
book.
to the Googles and Wikipedia.
Right, unless you read a certain book that
Right.
that the start comes
Straight
from,
to the
basically.
Googles. I think the vast majority of people watching it, right? All shots fired at the Star Wars heads. All shots
I'm gonna
fired.
disagree with you.
I
on
don't
that one,
care.
So
Y'all can come right at me.
no, there's some diehard folks that pretty much read and digest almost everything. So now
Right,
I'm not saying
right,
that's
right.
like the biggest number, but it's a bigger number than
I'm
you
just
think
saying.
it is.
I'm just saying. I think the vast majority of people who watched were left scratching their heads and went straight to Wikipedia or to the Googles and had to, do a deep dive into a world of storytelling that heretofore had been unknown to us. So
Nah,
I will
like I said,
speak for the vast majority.
no, I don't know. I don't think.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
I don't think you
I don't
can.
care.
Like I said, there are some very devout Star Wars fans out there that digest a lot of things, and if your only touchstones are the movies and or the movies one and or the shows, you might possibly be lost with that. But no, there's some folks out there that
Shots fired.
So regardless, as Agent 70 continues to
unload the clips,
try to overtalk, but nevertheless, it still ends up being an interesting story. And actually, I will say one thing, because there was a story that I didn't put in the lineup that I'm glad I didn't, because it seemed kind of fishy at the time that it came out anyway. That it was rumored that the stories were going to suggest that,
oh, sorry, I'm just rearranging some stuff.
That the adventure stuff was suggesting a tie to another recent Star Wars show, and that turns out that was not the case, and I didn't expect it to be, but if it had, that would have been, I guess, interesting and weird. So yeah, that was a whole thing. Regardless, there's a good stuff, and they're really short. Like there's like somebody said earlier, they're like 15-16 minutes a piece, so you can get through that in a good hour or so, and like I said, it's some good stuff. So if you have a chance to check that out, hey, and you're a Star Wars fan, do so. That being
Celebrate Star Wars fans. Anyway,
we're going to go into the other part of Star Wars that came out in the last couple of weeks, which is 6 episodes of Andor season 2. So there's episodes 4 through 9 as we have them right now. Oh, excuse yeah. So that came out this week, and I'm not even gonna do the whole names of them because it'll take too long and all of that. Just know, folks, that like I said, we will be kind of glossing over those 6 episodes, and all I'm going to say is there were a couple of, especially the last 2, that were really great. There's one that I'm really bummed about because a character that was a favorite of mine was put into place. But also, I know that the person that plays them is doing something else at this point, so that may or may not have anything to do with why that person was written off the show. But, it's going to be a slight spoiler because there was something that happened to 1/2 characters, one of which I'd totally forgotten that was the case. Something happened to both of them that I wish had happened way earlier than now. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because like I said, it is definitely a spoiler for episode 8, definitely, of the show. But and we will be having some news in the news section about nothing really spoilery, but just stuff surrounding the season, or excuse me, a couple of the shows so far. 87, what do you think?
kill them all. So I think one of the interesting things here is that they kind of reworked what we understood about the Gorman massacre just a
Mhm.
little. And the bottom line here is that that was redone, I think, to make it, as disturbing as we all think, the real world is. It actually parallels so much of what's happening in the real world and what's happened in, not so distant, not in the not so distant past. There's definitely some uh overt and not very subtle references to uh certain resistance uh efforts from the past, such as the the French resistance. That's obviously a a, a, um, a source of reference for the Gormans and the Gore, and everything down to the accents basically that they employed. Despite the fact that there is a completely made up language being employed in their dialogue, at the end of the day, that's what it's meant to evoke, and we get to see how all that stuff plays out over the course of, the this, let's say the first, the the seeds of the story are sown throughout the first, let's say, like 6 episodes of the season 2. Once you get to episode 7 and 8, that's where the confrontations really are set up, and the we finally get to see what uh the ultimate goal of the writers was to introduce us to um the story of Cyril Karn and Dedra Miro. We get to see that part kind of play out. There are human stories on both sides, but obviously the oppressors are uh you know a- you know uh characterized with uh they're characterized a certain way. And while they may have human stories, they're definitely working things. I guess one way to put it is they're working things to uh to benefit basically one person who is looking for unlimited power.
Yes, indeed. But I know I've seen some people talking about, and I mean, there's always going to be these people, and it's fine. Not everything's for everybody, but there's been people talking about they didn't watch Andor because it was quote unquote too slow, and I'm sitting here like, I'm pretty sure you watched some of the dumbest shit that is not, but that was me eternalizing that in my head. And some would argue I'm probably be a little bit biased, but no, it's weird the takes that are out there, but for the most part, it's been pretty positive for this season.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know who's saying that it's slow. That's actually the first time I've heard it. I
I
don't
was in a chat
I
and I
don't
saw somebody saying that.
what's that?
I said I was in a Twitch chat and I saw somebody saying that. I'm like,
Right,
okay,
that's interesting. I'm like, that's a corner of the internet I have not been in yet, or seen any kind of commentary from.
right,
That it's slow. That's actually a new one to me. I think that, most of what I've read is um most of what I've read and consumed comes from people who are kind of not mildly surprised, but at the end of the day, give Tony Gilroy and the other creators behind Andor as a whole, seasons 1 and 2, a lot of credit for grasping onto what Lucas was never really able to explain in all of the movies, right? He
right,
didn't direct all the movies, but he, conceptually was the creator behind all of them. In terms of what the politics of Star Wars was, and what basically led to the rebellion, this is probably the best depiction, explanation, and acting overall in expression of that. of what Lucas I think was trying to get at. He just didn't up to this point he had not yet found a way to put it on film.
Or perhaps taking what he had put out there and fleshed it out more than, as you say, he ever could, because that was probably never in his spectrum. Some would argue, but but yeah, like I said, it's, I know there are people that come to stuff like this that just want the Sith and the Jedi stuff, and sure, there's a place for that. But there's like other stories in the universe, and stuff like this just hits very nicely, whether you're a Star Wars, or I should say, whether you're a Star Wars fan or not, because at the core of it, it is a story that if you tell it in without the trappings of it being sci-fi, will still resonate. So it's I think it's well done. I don't know, this is just probably preaching to the choir out there or whatnot, but regardless, if you have a chance to watch and the season's not over yet, because we still got 3 more episodes, and we're going to get the actual run up to Rogue One in these next 3 episodes. So depending on how they play it out, this is a good this could be a banner season, or another banner season for the show. But that being the case, we are going to press on, because like I said, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. But before we get into the books of the week, I'm just gonna, I asked Agent 70 about this earlier, about Free Comic Book Day, which was this past Saturday, and he said he didn't have a chance to get some stuff, and I didn't bring my books in. I didn't bring my books in with me to share anyway, so it's just as well. And plus, there's a couple of them I didn't have a chance to read, but just acknowledging the fact that it's a thing. And well, if your store is like my store, there's a good chance that there's probably going to be some surplus. Because sometimes that happens or not. But I say all that to say that hopefully folks did get out to Free Comic Book Day and didn't just partake of the free stuff, and and didn't go in and actually support the comic book shop, because they pay for those books, folks. And just go in there, buy something, support the local shop, and keep them in business, and all that kind of good message, good stuff. But I can safely say that my shop there was a good time had at my shop, because when I went in there to get my books on that Saturday, it was pretty lively. Apparently, as people tend to do, go in early, and I went in like a little after 12 or something like that, so it had kind of died down a little bit. But there were some people, there was a bunch of people still in there, and some conversations and stuff like that. So it was a good time, and it was enjoyable. But hopefully at one point maybe I'll do a little thing about. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. It's not even worth the time, because I would have done it by now. But usually, and we'll probably talk about it in the news in the coming weeks, there's probably going to be, and I know there already is, free comic book stuff that comes out digitally if you missed out on it. So if that's all you're looking for, I'm sure that stuff will be out there at some point fairly soon. That being the case, wow, that was a crack. We are going to go over into the books of last week, actually, that we have in common, starting off with ThunderCats.
Wait, did we get to T-Bolts?
What? Sorry. What's that?
T-Bolts?
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, that was the part I totally forgot about, didn't I? Yeah, so, okay. Actually,
well, the reason why you forgot it's T-Bolts, because they have apparently renamed the film, in a massive spoiler for the film. I'm not going to talk about what that spoiler is, but I'll tell you that I think that, walking into the film, I had medium-sized expectations, and I think that the movie exceeded them. I feel like the acting was pretty top-notch. There's one kind of disappointing move with the character, and it was kind of rumored that one character would not make it very deep into the movie, and the rumors proved to be true. But ultimately, I thought there were a decent amount of wisecracks, and there is definitely hints of the power of friendship being, basically saving the day, which is, mildly disappointing. But we all understand why they had to go that route. And you know, and with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat, and I'll tell you that there are, in fact, if you have not watched it yet, and you are swayed by the spoilery advertisements that are out there now, make sure you stay until the very end of the credits. There are 2 credit sequences.
So I was going to say that, and actually the other reason why I think I probably forgot about it is because we did have a built-in a moment at the beginning of the news section for that, but that's cool. The only thing I have to say about the movie, though, as much as I've enjoyed it, and actually I should go ahead, and since we're already on it, how was the crowd in your theater? Because I know you went at night though, so it was probably
Yeah, I went
decent.
opening night. Right, I went
Right.
opening night. So like the Thursday night preview night, it was pretty packed. I think there were a few empty seats, but not many.
Yeah, that was actually, I went in the afternoon, and it was actually fairly. It wasn't like crowded, but it was actually a fairly decent crowd for being in early afternoon.
Mhm.
So, and of course, at certain parts, there were people. There was one dude that would comment on things and that and other. I'm like, dude, shut up, please. You're not that funny. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I thought I saw something out there either yesterday, talking about from Iman Vellani and her take on the her. I guess she reviewed the movie, and she had an amusing take that is out there that's kind of funny. And I know Sebastian Stan was out there saying, it was like, yeah, it's more like the Breakfast Club, and yeah, some of that still holds true. Part of me thinks they're not beating the Suicide Squad allegations during some of it. I'm not saying it's completely like it, but there feels like there's kind of some similarities, and not just because it was a misfit group of folks getting together for a thing that they probably shouldn't ever be able to handle, just like the last Marvel movie. But it was still fun. It has been said that the actors took basically had their way with the characters and kind of made it their own, continued to do that, and that made for a good showing for the film. The whole Sentry thing, that's spoiler alert, that's the thing that's out there. And yeah, the thing that's out there for rumors and what's going on, I'm like, that's a weird thing for Marvel to spoil that shortly after the movie comes out. But they have a plan, I guess, and therein lies that. I'm actually, because of the preview for the movie, the preview ahead of the movie, I was unknowingly more excited for a post-credit sequence that happens. And I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four. That being said, hey, Thunderbolts is good. You go see it if you're interested in that, though. So, yeah. But like I said, we got some news on it, and there's not really much else to say about it, because even though movies have been out for almost 2 weeks at this point, then yeah, hey, people still don't want to be spoiling it for folks. But now we're actually going to get into the books of the week, starting with last week's books that we have in common with ThunderCats number 15. I almost said Thunderbolts.
ThunderCats number 15, published by Dynamite, is written by Declan Shalvey with art by Joe Mulvey, colors by Dear Biha Kelly, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So what's interesting about this issue is that we get to a point now in Declan Shalvey's story where there's an intersection between the main ThunderCats story and that Apex book that we got a little while ago. And we see the full crossover now, and we're left to figure out how these characters are able to interact, whether or not there are aspects of time travel or dimensional warping / teleportation slash, incursion type interactions between dimensions. But otherwise, we will see how this leads to, let's say, a different take on Lion-O's maturation into the Lord and leader of the Thundercats.
Yeah, and yeah, I think we probably said it, if not the last time we talked about the book, that if you had not read that the one shot that crossed over into this, I believe it was Thundercats Apex, if I'm not mistaken, might maybe possibly want to give that a shot before coming into this book. Even though the book does what it does, just in case you hadn't read it, kind of references in its own way. So therein lies that. But yeah, we pretty much got to see where Lionel got off to, because last we saw him, he was kind of hemmed up, and we see what happens to him since then. And we've found out what we kind of know, what we kind of knew already. It was like, what, the pressure to lead, even though he's younger than his body looks, was kind of getting on him, and that stuff's kind of weighing on him, which, hey, all of that was kind of front and center in the actual animated show from '86. So the fact that they brought it up here was, sure, why not? Now where this is going with this crossover and this other character, I guess we'll find out. The only thing I can say is that Lionel pretty much does not know himself, and that's pretty funny. So, that being the case, we're going to move on to the next book, which is Ultimate Spider-Man number 16.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 16 is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cacchetto. Colors are by Matthew Wilson and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. So guess what, folks? If you are familiar with how Mysterio stories are told, not everything you read is what it has seemed. So there is a big reveal in this issue, and also an origin story behind let's just say a revised origin story for this version of Mysterio, this ultimate version of Mysterio, because it definitely alters what most of us have understood as the basic Mysterio origin story. And with that change comes like a ripple effect into what we thought we saw in, let's say, over the last several issues, and what has led Peter and Mary Jane into the desert, basically putting them on the run. And so we find ourselves, I'm basically waiting for the other mumbo jumbo from Hickman to fall, to see how, at least the Spider-Man mumbo jumbo version of Hickman's story plays out.
Right. But yeah, this is a particular Kliq of the week for myself, or from last week, I should say, but it's Ultimate Spider-Man, and the books, as we have said many times in the past, is pretty good. So these new wrinkles and origin stories and whatnot, pretty much serves that. We also apparently we find out that well, hey, guess what? Dr. Voodoo exists in the Ultimate Universe. Whether this version is actually still around, that doesn't sound like is the case. But, there they are. And I know there's probably some people out there who were like, and I feel like we probably did when we talked about it, talked about last issue, was like, something didn't seem right with how that last issue ended. So what happens in this issue probably... It was like, okay, yep, kind of called it, because of the fact that, things kind of seem a little off in a way, but I guess strategy to those folks. Let's see. Next up, though, Doom Academy 3 of 5.
Doom Academy number 3 of 5 is written by Mackenzie Cadenhead with art by Pasquale Ferry and Joao MP Lemos or Limos. Colors are by Edgar Delgado and Joao MP Lemos or Limos. And letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, I freely confess I do not remember too much of what happened in this issue. I still enjoy the interactions between the the original Strange Academy kids and these Doom Academy kids. One thing I noticed different that was different in this issue is that there were far fewer instances of panels where we highlight where there are there are images of Doom watching what's happening. I believe I only recall seeing one maybe two particular panels that had images of Doom actually watching things play out. Um what is the character's name? Is it Zoe?
The one trapped in the book? Yes.
Yeah, the one trapped in the book, right.
Yes.
So Zoe is essentially a highlight on Zoe interacting with a Doom Academy kid who's trapped in there with her. And there's a twist at the end. We find out that why this particular character was pulled into this trap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of funny because as I was reading this, it kind of made me remember that, hey, this is not the first time in the past year, actually. Well, yeah, if you take a whole good year, that the Strange Academy kids had to deal with one or two of their own being trapped in a book, because they did a crossover. They basically did a team up with Miles Morales, and there was a whole thing there with a book that was trapping folks and math or whatnot. But that's the whole thing. So it was kind of funny. I'm kind of surprised they didn't. I say that because I'm surprised they didn't know what that wasn't mentioned in this book. But I guess there's no reason to do that. So, there was. It was kind of funny because there was a panel in the book and near the end that kind of reminded me of the Phoenix. And I was like, I assumed that was intentional, but that was kind of amusing that was the case. But it was a good look, Either way, the next book we have in common from last week is Doom's Division number 2 of 5.
Doom's Division number 2 of 5 is written by Yoon Ha Lee with art by Minkyu Jung. Colors are by Mattia Iacono, and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. Doom's Division is on the move, and they're in action in this issue, but we find out that unbeknownst to them that while they're trying to this is all very Andor-esque, right? While they're trying to deal with some civil disobedience, there are revelations involved, basically involving characters who were recently introduced to the ranks of Doom's Division, and we get the setup for the main conflict that's been teased over the first 2 issues.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Oops, sorry, folks, about that. I'm trying to keep the window on top. Yeah, there's really not much else to say about it. This is, as the name implies, it is a Wonder World Under Doom tie-in, and actually, I'm gonna say that what happens at the end, I kind of was not expecting. Because there's a nice little swerve that happens at the end, and I mean, I'm not saying that this would be something that would be easily seen, but it was like, okay, so to what end is this coming? But it kind of makes sense if you think about the impetus for this in a certain way, I guess. But no one would be thinking about it that hard, I will say. But yeah, decent read. Last book that from last week, anyway, that we have in common is Fantastic Four number 31.
All right, Fantastic Four number 31 is written by Ryan North with pencils by Corey Smith. Inks by Oren Jr. and colors by Jesus Bertov. Letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we are slowly whittling our way through the Fantastic Four. We have people, basically the gist of this is that members of the Fantastic Four are losing their powers based on a story dynamic that Ryan North introduced earlier in his run. And the FF try to outwit or outsmart this particular power dynamic. That's one way to put it. And while they successfully do that, it basically backfires on them. So that's essentially the crux of it. That is the least spoilery description I can give it. So I'll pass it on to Roddykat.
The amusing thing about it is that the catalyst for them doing this whole thing is the reason why things end up the way they did at the end of this book. So, because of something a character did, unbeknownst to the others, in trying to do a thing, it's interesting. Now, the cover of the book suggests a thing that kind of happened, but doesn't necessarily happen. But if you think about, multiversal travel, you come across some things, but the character, but the cover itself doesn't actually happen the way that you see it if you're watching the video version. If that's meaning anything to anybody, because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it was a good read. And I was gonna ask you, Agent 70, did Ryan North write that? Do you remember if he wrote that 2-in-1? Because it wasn't that like before the beginning of his run.
I have to take a look. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because I was kind of wondering about that. I should have looked, but yeah, that reference and being brought up in this story was like, I didn't think they were actually gonna bring that back up again. But that was pretty interesting. But now we're going to go to the one book from this week that we have in common. Let's see, pardon me for a second while I pull up. And that is, I'm not even going to do the sound effects because even though I have it up. SilverHawks number 3.
SilverHawks number 3, published by Dynamite, is written by Ed Brisson with art by George Combadius, that is. Colors are by Ellie Wright and letters are by Jeff Eckelberry. So one of the theories that Roddykat had on the beginning and storytelling behind the early story arc in this book basically seems to be proven true in that we are forming the SilverHawks that we know out of the remains that are left behind from an older group of SilverHawks. And we get to see now how this particular group of SilverHawks functioned at some point in the past, and we're still on our way to forming the SilverHawks that most of the 80s kids know.
Right. It's interesting because in this issue, every issue pretty much has been partially focused on either a character, or in this case 2 characters, because it was like the twins. But and we figured this arc was going to be like, each issue is going to be centered on one of the characters. In this particular issue, they kind of stopped that again. Well, in a way, I mean, there's still some introduction and whatnot that needs to happen, but it seems at this point the team is here. They just need to kind of get to the point, and it sounds like that point is going to come fast because of what else happens in this book. But
Mhm.
you know, you figured, hey, if everybody's going to kind of get their backstory / moment, you know, in this first arc and get them folded in, you know, it was going to be now. And it turns out like, nah, they're going to speed that along just a little bit more. It seems like, and sure, it works out. Or so far, it's working out. And even a potential addition to the group that came later in the show, that is sounds like that might be the case coming early, if it is that indeed that character that we'd expected that it is. So yeah, this book continues to be an interesting read so far, and yeah, well, we'll see where it goes. That is it for the books that we had in common for last week. Now we're gonna do no, actually we did it. Now we're gonna do rapid fire for the last 2 weeks, because since we have done the books that we have in common.
Go right through it.
I ain't got time to bleed.
That's
All right, rapid fire review time. What's left of last week's books, what we don't have in common is Godzilla versus Spider-Man #1. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Nick Bradshaw, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this is the latest Godzilla versus Marvel hero book, and what we have had so far are trips down the various periods of Godzilla, and this period of Godzilla is basically like the period that basically coincided with like the mid 1980s, right? And also like the mid to late 1980s, because what we find here is that the version of Spider-Man and the version of the Marvel universe that is chosen to interact with this version of Godzilla is Black Suit Spider-Man, and basically the era of Spider-Man just after Secret Wars. And so we get some fun interactions here, and you know, there's an interesting twist ending to a twist revision to a version of let's just say a version of Eddie Brock's union with the symbiote that goes in a different direction because of the events of this issue. You know, just really fun. All right, so I think that covers all of last week's books. This week's books, we'll start with Batgirl #7. It's written by Tate Bromble with art by Isaac Goodhart, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Tom Napolitano. Now, I know that Roddykat is reading this, so I will not spoil it, but this is essentially a flashback story told as the narration of an origin story. And I'll leave it at that. I think it's actually well worth anyone reading this issue. You don't necessarily have to have read the previous issue. The last story arc is set up, yes, but I think that this is actually fairly new reader friendly. Next up for this week is Amadeus Cho, 20th Anniversary Special #1. So this is obviously the 20th anniversary of the appearance of Amadeus Cho. And one of the characters, writers, and I believe a co-creator is Greg Pak. And he's written 3 separate stories contained in this special. The artist on the first story is Takeshi Miyazawa. The artist on the second story is Chris Lee. The artist on the third story is Jethro Morales. The colorist on the first story is Brian Valenza. On the second story is Sebastian Chang. On the third story is Brian Reber. And lettering throughout is VC's Corey Petit. So kind of following the framework of the Godzilla stories that I was just describing is that this anniversary special covers stories that are set in 3 different eras of Amadeus Cho's history over the past 20 years. The first story is Amadeus Cho when he's basically in that Mastermind Excello era, The second one is set in the totally awesome Hulk era, and the third story is set in the current times of Braun and what he's doing right now, kind of post Agents of Atlas. So it's pretty good. It is obviously the first week. We're still in the first week of AANHPI month, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So that's definitely one reason why we're getting an Amadeus Cho anniversary special. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man #3. It's written by Joe Kelly with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read this because that itsy bitsy character is annoying. But what's funny is that Joe Kelly actually uses Norman Osborn of all characters to play the straight man, because I believe this may have been the second time I've read Joe Kelly write Norman Osborn as saying, you know what? It sounds even more ridiculous that like a certain, I think it's Norman describing Itsy Bitsy's origin story to Peter Parker as he's helping Peter Parker kind of recuperate from like the latest Itsy Bitsy encounter. And that's definitely interesting. I can find myself saying, yeah, this is ridiculous. What is this character? Why do they exist? So I get that, but it's almost like with a knowing wink that Joe Kelly is writing this story. Next up is Sam Wilson, Captain America #5 of 5. It's written by Greg Pak and Evan Narcisse. Art is by Eder Messias. Colors are by Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters again are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. The story is, the story of this kind of plot, which is disguised as a way to provide people with their let's say 40 acres and a mule within the sky, and that's all disguised, and that all disguises a sinister plot, we'll put it that way. And ultimately what comes of this is groups of characters who were kind of thrown to the winds, kind of coming back together. And also lots of people get wings because, of course, it's Falcap, right? Or Captain Falcon. A lot of people have different ways. I've always called him Falcap because he's got wings. And, there's a lot of characters who end up with wings after this issue. And it's just, it's kind of, I kind of chuckle at the corniness of it, but I guess it makes sense. And last but not least is X-Men #16. It's written by Jed McKay with pencils by Netho Diaz, inks by Sean Parsons, JP Mayer, and Livesay. Colors are by Fer Cifuentes Sujo, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So this X-Men issue contains an all-out Knuckles, Knuckles brandished beatdown between these two groups of characters who are saying that they're X-Men, the X-Men that we know who are basically holed up in Alaska, and a bunch of people who are the group is like called 3K. These are the people who are behind the adult onset mutations, which is definitely contrary to what to how mutations have developed in the in the mutant community and in the Marvel universe up until this point. And that's a new development. Ultimately what we get here is a setup, that will be continued in the next issue because the battle is not yet finished. And with that, those are that's my rapid review for the last 2 weeks.
Alrighty then. Let's see. We go into my books from last week, starting with, I don't know if Agent 7 you plan on reading this, but Batman Superman World's Finest Annual 2025.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, because I asked that because it is part what 3 of that.
Oh, that
Yes,
just
correct. We are
yeah.
yesterday storyline that is going on in between Batman, Superman, and Justice League right now. The script has been done by Christopher Cantwell. The plot's by Mark Waid and Christopher Cantwell. Art by Dan McDade. Colors by John Calise. That is for the main story, and then there's a backup story that is written by Morgan Hampton with art by Clayton Henry, colors by Niraj Menon, and letters by Steve Wands. So the main story is the We Are Yesterday thing, and we see basically coming from the last Justice League book where we find out, you know, who Inferno is, and well, we already found out who Inferno is, but we find out about how Grodd is as powerful as he is, and then it gets to a certain point. Well, that point comes in to this issue where basically Grodd puts his plan in action and talks about we see the plan get laid out and put into action basically in this book. But not without a little hitches, you know, here and there. And of course, time traveling is a part of this. So therein lies that, which, you know, may be, which let's just say for the second time in I'd say probably a year or two of this book being happened, another character ends up time traveling against their will. And in the backup story, I found this kind of weird because, and I know I don't know, but Batman, Superman, World's Finest seems to be, or it's always felt like it is an alternate retelling of, you know, Batman, Superman, like meeting and early team ups or whatever the case may be. I still not entirely sure if that is the case, but I say that to say that the backup story is kind of a backstory for John Stewart. But it seems different. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know John Stewart's full backstory, but there's part of this doesn't seem like anything that has been mentioned before, put it that way. And, you know, we basically get to see how, you know, how John was made the person he is in a way. Due to some things. And therein lies that. But hey, it's a good read. Let's see. Next book for myself is from last week is The Power Company Recharged, one shot. Excuse me. There we go. Written by Brian Edward Hill, former guest of the show. Art by Kari Randolph, Aletha Martinez, Norm Rapmund, Ray Anthony Height, and Studio Sky Tiger. Colors by Emilio Lopez and Alex Guamarez. And letters by Underworld Design. So this is coming off of that Black Lightning miniseries from that just ended like a month or so back, and just kind of continuing that whole thing basically. And I don't fully know about the Power Company, but apparently it was a group that was put together by this Josiah Power. I don't know how long ago in actual history, but apparently the group is put back together with some new folks. We got Black Lightning, who I think might have been with the original crew, Vixen, the Signal, and Batman. And no, not Bruce Wayne Batman, the other Batman, Jace Fox. And this story mainly is them trying to recruit Jace Fox, but he's kind of acting like Batman. And I'm not saying acting like Batman as in he's not, because he is Batman, but he's acting like the Batman who doesn't like to work with a team Batman. But, you know, they found some common ground, and I'm not sure if, so this is titled as a one shot, and I'm assuming this crew is going to come back up someplace else, but I'm not entirely sure where. And the reason why they've been put back together partially has its roots in Absolute's power and again, like I said, what happened during Black Lightning's miniseries. So if you're not up on at least that last one, you might want to peep that out before you check this out. So next up, speaking of roots, Bitterroot, the next movement, number 2 of 5, written by David F. Walker and Chuck Brown, art by Sanford Green, colors by Matt Herms, and letters by Hassan Atmane Alao. So this just continues this next chapter, set in the 60s of the Sangerye. They're in Mississippi trying to deal with an outbreak of Jinoo, and apparently people still don't believe that they exist. And being that is in the 60s and then during the height of, the civil rights era, basically, or getting to that point, a lot of ignorance around the time, let's just say, comes up in the way that they did around that time, or so it says about the time. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But regardless, so it's Sangerye having to deal with this outbreak and the prejudice of the South during that time, all at the same time, and coming to be a bit much. So apparently they get some help from an old ally who has different means of dealing with the situation than the Sangeryes do, and that's causing a little bit of friction at the end. But nevertheless, we'll see how that works out in this story. Next up, Void Rivals number 18. Excuse me. I thought I had it. All right, sweet. Void Rivals number 18, written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Patricio Del Pesce, and letters by Russ Wooten. So, you know what? The one thing I'm going to say about this book is that, or this issue specifically, is that one of the main characters, Salila, who was on the quest to find basically a Cybertronian, who they found for a reason, and for their troubles, they have been given power for divine purpose, of which she starts to use. But unfortunately, in using that, she pops up on the other main character, Derek, at a very inopportune time. If you don't know anything about Void Rivals, it's kind of about two warring peoples, but they have similarities, and those similarities, well, not the similarities, but they have similarities that they weren't aware of, and there are people who are trying to keep that knowledge from being out there because it's supposed to bring some great catastrophe. But also there's another side of this for people trying to bring them together for unity. And this is a part of the Energon Universe. So there is definitely Energon being produced in this book. And there are a couple of Cybertronians in this book because Hot Rod and Springer kind of chop it up about what's going on in the Transformers book, while they're in this book, and potential where they may be headed next. We don't, we'll see about that. But yeah, so there's this book is, making itself be important to the Energon universe more and more as things go by. So maybe one to pick up if you are interested in that. Let's see. Last from last week is an amusing one, actually, and I probably didn't get the thing for this one either, did I? I probably didn't. Of course not. Giant-sized wacky races. I did have it, but it's not in this folder. But Giant-sized wacky races number 1, written by, I think it is also a one-shot, written by Ivan Cohen, art by Mariano Benitez Chapo, colors by Nick Capone, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. So if you're of a certain vintage, you might know the name Wacky Racers or have seen it in syndication in some kind of way. You know, it's a group of Hanna-Barbera characters racing around the country in crazy cars. Well, this is kind of a take similar to when Looney Tunes characters were brought into the DC universe and kind of given shape there. This is kind of a similar situation in that, and also I guess the Hanna-Barbera stuff what they did with Future Quest around that same time. So this is kind of that. So it's the Wacky Races kind of in a more real world leaning setting. So, but it's the main character of it is Penelope Pitstop, which was kind of one of the main characters in the old show. And she's kind of given a more influencer / child star, you know, kind of leaning in this book. And there's some social media stuff going on in here. And weirdly enough, there's even talk of presidency for one of the other characters going on in this book. All the while, a big race, well, a couple of races happen. And, you know, if you know enough about Wacky Races, then you know at the very least some of the characters from the old show kind of get realized here, including one laughing dog of note, who has a interesting rumor about them in this book, which is kind of funny. But I wanted to make a Fast and Furious references, but I kind of can't. It's not a good one to do in this one. There's a couple of new racers that come up in here, one of which is a weird name for the person that is given to, but that's fine. But yeah, it's a potential click of the week for me because I kind of love when they kind of do stuff like this, or I kind of love that stuff when they did that stuff back then, and this is kind of one of those. And I believe this was from Dynamite, actually, not from DC when they did that, but beside the point. But yeah, it was kind of interesting the way they did it, and I don't know if there's going to be any more of it, but you know, if there is, hey, sure, bring it on. And that's the stuff from last week. This week, I'll try to breeze through a lot of this faster. Absolute Green Lantern is my first book. There we go. Written by Al Ewing, art and colors by Janoy Lindsay and Lucas Gattoni. I think Agent 70 is going to read this. Or I'm not sure. I know you read the first one, but
yeah, I'll get to it at some point. I know I have it. I know I have it queued up.
Yeah, and that's fine. But basically, so I won't say too much about it outside of the fact that we get a little bit more about what happened, and not necessarily how the one or two main characters get the powers that they have, but we definitely get more leading up to that happening, and also with what happens with some of the other side characters that is involved in it. And if you know about Green Lantern's origin story, yeah, it is a little bit different. It is definitely a little bit different from what you might know here, or at least what I remember that I know from that origin, in true Al Ewing fashion, and it was a pretty good read. So I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to next issue. Next up, a new #1 book this week, folks. You may have heard of it. I know some of you 90s kids will know the name of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. #1, written by David
Go
Papone.
Planet.
Exactly. And I do have that sound effect. I just didn't put it in. But written by David Papone, art by Eamon Casellos, colors by George Sutil, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. So again, another reimagining of a 90s cartoon. This was a 90s cartoon, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a catchy theme song.
It is a very catchy theme song. Matter of fact, I might even throw a little piece right up in here in post. But this is an interesting start for this book. So we find out the characters you may know from the book are there, but they are different. But they're still there. And we meet them all and we get them to a certain place, but not together. But we do see, like the most, we do see that. I don't want to give too much away for people who want to read it. But like all of the characters, at least from the crew you meet, you do get to see one of the bad guys, or I guess the leader of the bad guys that comes in at the end. But even they are a little bit different from what I could tell. And of course, there's one or two little drops to, to what you know about a show. But this is definitely a very different take. Not a very different, but this is definitely a different enough take from the cartoon series. And I suspect there's going to be more in the next issue because of how this was, or how this kind of came together. So we shall see. But I'm interested in seeing where this goes, and so I'll be checking this out. There's a little bit more. The next book that I have is Mouse Guard. No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk about that in a second.
I'm waiting for maybe one more issue to come out because I'm so used to reading them as, the collecting as a collected edition.
Right, and 87 talk about Mouse Guard because there were 2 Mouse Guard books that came out this week. But my next actual book is ThunderCats Lost number 2 of 5, written by Ed Brisson again, art by Rafa Labasco, colors by Rashawn Curiciano, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. So this book is about, I still call them the later season ThunderCats because there are those still there, and a couple of new ones that are in this book, as they have crash landed on third Earth, in not necessarily in the same way that the original cats had, but they were basically shot down. And they have a mission. They had a mission that they were on that we see here that has to do with something something definitely referenced in the show, and also the ThunderCats Chitara book, that we get to see, what this thing, what this article, or what this item, the importance of this item, and again we get to see their mission. But unfortunately, because of the fact that they got that they crash landed, they have another mission ahead of that. Before they can see the original mission out. So this is them kind of fighting for their lives to kind of get to a certain place and do a thing and find a thing, and possibly join up with the main book. But we shall see if that's actually if that's going to happen. So next up, we get another crossover, folks. Space Ghost and Jonny Quest. Space Quest number 1 is my next book. It is written by Joe Casey, art by Sebastian Perez, colors by Lorenzo Scaramella, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So apparently it takes place after the recent Jonny Quest adventure, because it is referenced indeed. In this case, I'm just going to say the Quest team gets notified about unidentified objects, or one unidentified object that crashed in a certain part of Nevada. And so the Quest team, part of the Quest team, investigates while Race Bannion is going to take care of a personal thing that he found out during the course of their last adventure. But of course, Dr. Quest, Johnny, and Haji end up, or at least specifically Johnny and Haji end up meeting the Space Ghost basically during the course of this, and and his teen friends in one way, shape, or form. To what end, I'm not entirely sure. Well, actually, I am entirely sure, because at first I thought this was supposed to be like a one shot, but it is a uh, um, a crossover that is going to span a couple of issues, but I'm not sure how many issues at this point, and I have to find that out. So this will continue in the next issue, and we will see how things play out there. Next up, West Coast Avengers number 7. I know Agent 70 is probably going to read this at some point. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't read it, but
I just couldn't get to it.
yeah, which, there's a lot of books out this week, so that's totally understandable. Written by Jerry Duggan, art by Danny Kim, colors by Arthur Hesley, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So, if you saw what happened last issue, one Simon Williams Wonder Man comes a calling because of, as I say in my notes, Blue Bolt's name infringement on live TV. But it doesn't. This is a slight spoiler. It doesn't quite turn out the way you think it's going to, and suggested by the cover. Sadly, because I kind of wanted that, but it actually comes up into something, I guess, differently interesting. Because you didn't expect. Well, I didn't expect what ends up happening between a couple of characters to be the case, but I guess it kind of makes sense in a way. And all the while, they're still dealing with that whole Ultron situation, which seems to be escalating a bit with the coming of another Ultron that pops up on the scene, and not with the green and a pocket full of green, but yeah, that whole thing is going on. And last but not least, is a new number 1. Star Wars number 1, to be specific. There we go. Written by Alex Segura, art by Phil Noto, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So, if you're wondering, the big mystery as to when this is is where this comes into the timeline, wonder no more. It's after Return of the Jedi. Don't worry about it. There's a couple of things actually going on. So, Luke and the squad's out in space, trying to sweep up pirates and whatnot because, the Empire's done and so on and so on. But they run into some remnants of trouble while they're out there. And on the other side of that, we get a little bit of talking with Leia and Mon Mothma on Chandrilla because of some talks. They're trying to get some folks into the New Republic, and that's not really going where because the folks are resistant for reasonable reasons, which ends to something that happened at the end of this issue that goes against that's that you wouldn't think happened to the New Republic, but hey, it does. And the other thing is we get some I guess we catch up with a bounty hunter from that bounty hunter book, who of course happens to be friend with one Han Solo, and we see what they get into in this book. So yeah, that's like 3 different things that happened in this one book, and I don't know if they're all going to continue happen in each issue, or they're going to just like stop and take care of one at a time. But they definitely put a lot of stuff on the table with this issue. And that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week. Here we go.
There it is. So we got 2 weeks, 2 weeks worth of Kliqs. So what you got?
For last week, I think I'll go with Ultimate Spider-Man number 16.
Oh, just going right at it. Okay, nice.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I think the second, the close second is probably Fantastic Four number 31.
That's fair.
And for this week, surprise, I think I'll go with Batgirl number 7.
That is a surprise.
But with the Amadeus Cho 20th anniversary special coming in a close second.
Okay, nice. Let's see. Well, for myself, I'll come back to that. For myself, let's see. For last week, also there's some stuff with that we didn't talk about because I read a lot of books. I don't know about Agent 70, but we just kind of because of time we didn't really get to a lot of it. So maybe there's going to be another episode or something or maybe I'll just put that out on social media someplace about other stuff that I read because read a lot. Let's see. Last week's click is going to be pardon. Actually, you know what? It's I don't have the cover for it, but I'll I have to see if I can find it. Giant size wacky racers number 1, excuse me, is my click from last week. And for this week, that West Coast Avengers was pretty fun despite not going the way I thought. Oh, actually, I missed one. My apologies for this, folks. I did miss one, but I'll keep it brief. Hercules number 3 I read, written by Tom Snigoski, art by Craig Russo, colors by Omi Remalante and Jr., and letters by Taylor Esposito. Some mole people attacked because they got frenzied up by a crashed spaceship, and the Hercules had to intervene. But Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Sure, we'll go with that. Like I said, West Coast Avengers was pretty good. The Absolute Green Lantern was pretty good. That Space Ghost Jonny Quest thing is kind of interesting. But yeah, that's what we're going to go with. Captain Planet. Go Planet, as Agent 70 said earlier.
He's a hero.
Exactly. Gonna cut pollution down to zero.
Gonna take pollution down to zero.
Yes. And that, folks, are the books that we have. And before we get to the news section, we got our first ad read.
Our first ad read is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news we'll do about this time. Thunderbolts. Spoilers, folks. Taskmaster role in the movie has been revealed, and apparently this site can't believe it. And I would argue that some folks, specifically Agent 70, definitely can believe it and does, because they've been wanting it for the longest time. But yeah, if you've seen Ultimate Thunderbolts and you know what happens to the character of Taskmaster, and it's a damn shame. But yeah. Next up.
Thunderbolts director says Florence Pugh jumped off a skyscraper for a stunt after being denied by safety experts 3 times. So basically, Florence Pugh would not let that go away after Disney tried to squash an electrifying stunt that kicks off Thunderbolts. And the movie's better for it.
Yeah. It was a good start. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the trailer of the movie, it's in there. So, it's not spoiling anything by mentioning this. Also, man, that's a good picture of her in this article. Anyway, Next up, though, the Century's creator gives his... Wait, I might be missing something. Nope, I'm not. The Century's creator gives his honest review of Louis Pullman's performance in the Thunderbolts, and this is co-creator... who is this? Wait. Paul Jenkins, excuse me. There we go. Don't know why it took that long to see that. The quote is, Lewis is a super humble and pleasant guy, right? We got into a chat about it. We talked about it. I actually said to him, and I know this is probably inappropriate, but I went, mate, I don't know how to say this to you except I'm really proud of you, because I think what you did was you understood the why of this character. You brought that, and that takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of humility. The quote continues, but we won't. So that's one co-creator's take on how he did. Next up,
Century co-creator Rick Veitch calls Marvel the House of Stolen Ideas after his stake in the character is overlooked or has been overlooked for the past 25 years, including in the Thunderbolts movie. So yeah, apparently Rick Veitch has some hand in the creation of the Century with Paul Jenkins, which was originally pitched as a horror story, not to Marvel, but to an early 90s horror anthology, Taboo. And eventually Paul Jenkins worked it so that when he was doing Marvel work, that's where he chose to pull together the story with Century.
mm-hmm.
And Rick Veitch was involved also, and now apparently he hasn't gotten any credit, which is unfortunately very, very much the story for most of these creators.
Right. Apparently there's an editor's note. If you're watching the video version, you can see it right there. There's an editor's note in this article about apparently someone from Marvel confirmed that they have nothing in their official records from Rick Veitch during the development of the 2000 Century miniseries. However, they added that the lines of communication are open if Veitch wants to have a dialogue with them, according to this article. So there you go. And the article goes on to talk about this other stuff. Anyway, Marvel fans have realized, and I thought about this for a smooth second during the scene during the Thunderbolts, but Marvel fans have realized that other MCU characters could have been caught up by the events in Thunderbolts with heartbreaking consequences, according to this article. Basically, and I think we talked about this last time on the show. Hey, where are other people when stuff goes on? I think we talked about it with Daredevil. And in this particular case, given what happened in that movie, it does, if there are some specifically ground level, some street level characters that were in the area, probably got swept up in that situation.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. So this article kind of talks about fan speculation on that situation, which is kind of funny to read. And I think it also mentions Daredevil season 2, it's a season of Daredevil. Either way, next up.
Matthew Wood is set to voice Herbie in Marvel's The Fantastic Four First Steps. Okay. All right. So that is the sound editor and voice actor, Matthew Wood. Apparently Herbie's going to play, an important role in the movie.
If that name sounds
Wood, I was about to say Matthew Wood previously acted as General Grievous in the Star Wars movies, apparently.
Yeah. So imagine Herbie with a smoker's cough. Let's see. Yeah, stop that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. star Agent Adrienne Palicki said she talked to Marvel about playing Mockingbird in the movies, according to this article. And apparently talking to the direct, Palicki confirmed that when she signed up to play Mockingbird in 2014, she was promised the opportunity to bring the character to the big screen. with the quotes. The conversation I had when I signed on actually to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was either I was going to be participating in the films or have a spinoff. And we do know there was supposed to be a spinoff that got canceled, but hey. She explained, let's see. And she even mentions the spinoff that was shot. By saying we did the spinoff, which is actually great, but I think it was at the time where ABC was literally getting rid of all their Marvel shows, like Agent Carter got taken off the air. Our show didn't get picked up. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on the verge of syndication, so it stayed on, and it kind of goes on from there. So, also mentioning her Wonder Woman pilot, which I don't think I still haven't seen the full thing, but I know it's out there. So, next up.
Next up, Charlie Cox reveals his least favorite episode of Daredevil Born Again. He apparently pushed back against it. So, he actually didn't like the episode in the bank, which is a shame because that was one of my favorites.
Right. Same. So, and yeah, I guess his part of his reasons in this article was just not, it's not worth going into. So, but well, actually, in a way it is, because apparently it's stuff that was that didn't get reshot. So there was the stuff that did before the strike, part of the original draft stuff. So, and he said he wasn't into it. So, next up though, Diego Luna and Adria Arjona had to re-record all of Andor season 2 for an awesome reason, and that reason is because they did the Spanish language versions. Because as folks may or may not know, shows get get redubbed in different languages. So let's see, but it says, what does it say here? Yeah, they provide the Spanish dialogue for the characters of their characters in the Spanish language version. And it says, a quote here from Arjona says, most people didn't realize that. It's a lot of work. You're doing the whole season and recreating your performance in a different language. And you're by yourself, Diego Luna noted, with no interaction. So, cool. I don't remember seeing the names coming up in the credits for that, but they probably did, and it is what it is. Next up.
Alrighty. Andor creator explains why a significant Star Wars prequel character was recast. So, they tried really hard, but the character just wasn't available. And I know this came as a surprise to a lot of people because we had seen this character appear during other shows that had been on Disney Plus Disney Plus relatively recently, set in the same timeline. And let's just say this character was played by an actor who we know from LA Law and NYPD Blue.
And Catwoman.
Wait, where's the?
Oh wait, you're talking about the original character. I'm talking about who replaced him. Sorry. So, yeah. So I think I saw this article before I saw the episode. I'm like, well, who were they talking about? And then I saw the episode, and I was like, oh. And then I saw who played him. I was like, you know what? That weirdly makes sense because I feel like those two characters. I feel like those two actors, not really, but I feel like they have done roles that the other could do.
One was on Law and Order, one was on NYPD Blue.
Right. So it's kind of funny that they got who they got to replace the original actor. We won't say who it is because you can, watch, and if you've been paying attention, you know who it is anyway. So next up, though, more Andor stuff. Andor showrunner opens up about, quote, minimizing Star Wars Rebels to tell a more powerful story. And this is talking about basically the episode 9 specifically, and in relation to what a certain character does, and I guess where they would end up next after this episode. If you watch the video version, you can see who I'm talking about. So it's not like, yeah.
Right. It's just basically rewriting what we had thought happened on the Senate floor. We'll put it that way, or the Senate floating pod thingy.
Yes. So here's a quote from Tony Gilroy from this article. Quote, "We are hijacking Canon. In Canon, she's rescued by, well, spoiler alert. Yeah, she's rescued by Gold Squadron in the speech they gave, and the speech that they gave in the cartoon, which was a canonical show. And then he's like, do I have to stick to this effing speech?" That's funny. So they basically worked around it in a way. So there you go. Next up,
Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith had a re-release in theaters, and it was a massive success, earning $25.2 million in 2,775 theaters in North America alone. That was enough to debut in second spot in this past week's domestic box office chart, behind only Sinners' impressive $45 million second week total. Okay.
yeah, I'm happy Cinder's been doing great, and I'm more happy than some of the more bullshit articles about the money Cinder's been making has been overshadowed. Anywho, I still haven't seen that movie, so I don't know if I will. But Sci-Fi debuts first trailer for highly anticipated, according to this article, Image Comics adaptation. So this is the Image Comics title is called Revival. Let's see, and the trailer has been released online. It provides people with a basic overview of the general premise. A rural Wisconsin town has to adjust to a startling new reality when the dead mysteriously come back to life. It says this article says what sets Revival apart from similar zombie-themed titles is that the revived appear and act like they did before they passed away. At the center of the story is Officer Dana Cypress, played by Melanie Scrofano, who has to make sense of it all as the town's residents struggling, coming to terms with the situation. So never heard of the book, didn't know this was a thing, but congratulations to these to them, I guess. If you're interested in anything I just said, the show is set to premiere on Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi on Thursday, June the 12th of this year. Next up.
A few weeks after Coyote vs. Acme was officially saved by Ketchup Entertainment and is now headed to theaters, star Will Forte is still in shock. The film, featuring Forte and John Cena opposite an animated Wile E. Coyote, became the most talked about movie in Hollywood in late 2023, when the Hollywood Reporter broke the news that Warner Brothers intended to scrap the movie as part of a $115 million write-down. It appeared it would never be released, but a social media campaign to save the project helped lead to an acquisition deal between Ketchup and Warner Brothers for the worldwide rights. Okay.
Mustard was not available for content for yeah. Anyway,
Comment.
Stupid joke.
Yeah.
Comment. Yes. Well, anyway, no shout out to scumbag Will Forte on Andor, who, aka Mon Mothma's husband. All I can say about this is, man, been nice if Batgirl would have gotten this treatment. But long lost Hong Kong action classics from John Woo, Sui Hark, and more finally get 4K and digital releases. So hey, you know what? If you're looking for a 4K transfer of The Killer, because I know I might be, it's coming at some point soon. But first, on June 24th, John Woo's Hard Boiled, which is also a good movie, and Ringo Lam's City of Fire are both coming out on June 24th. The Better Tomorrow series is coming on, July 8th, and the aforementioned The Killer is on July 27th. There's some other stuff also around that, but those are the ones of my interest, personally. So, but yeah, if those are, and this is coming from Shop Factory, which we might have possibly talked about this happening prior to this, but there you go. Next up.
Okay.
Oh, I guess we could
Uh,
say we're going into anime corner with this one.
yeah, exactly. I was kind of reading the article and just trying to get a handle on it. So apparently, this Saturday marks the 25th anniversary of Kazuya Tsurumaki's beloved cult classic anime Fooly Cooly, or FLCL, which is a joyous occasion for fans.
Oh,
Okay.
one way to
So
say it.
it also marks the long-awaited premiere of Fooly Cooly Reanimated, a fan-organized, shot-for-shot recreation of Fooly Cooly's 5th episode, which was constructed over 4 years by a team of more than 300 animators across the globe. Okay. So this project started back in 2021, like early 2021. Let's see here. Uh, okay. So Fooly Cooly Reanimated will premiere on Newgrounds and YouTube on April 26th. Fooly Cooly is available to stream on Hulu and Max. Okay.
Yeah, so it's out there now. For I don't know if folks out there have not seen Fooly Cooly, it's kind of bonkers. I guess it's straight up bonkers, but it's also weirdly good in that. So yeah, that's out there. That's been out there for a minute. So I'm sure folks know about it. 11 years later, according to this article, this forgotten sci-fi Toonami classic, which it was on other places before that. Thank you very much. Classic has its sight on set on revival. And we're talking about Tenchi Muyo, most people's first harem anime. That is me editorializing that, not this article. In April 2025, Armager Entertainment launched a Kickstarter campaign to reprint the 1997 Tenchi Muyo comic books. Let's see. These comic books were created exclusively for North American readers to expand the series' reach in the West during the 90s anime boom. The crowdfunding campaign for Tenchi Muyo American Omnibus Edition not only aims to release all 6 Tenchi Muyo comics, but also to relaunch the Tenchi Muyo franchise with brand new stories with the official blessing of the original creators. So this possibly might have been in the wrong place, because I was thinking it was talking about the anime and not these manga/comics. So either way, cool. Next up.
Alrighty. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle shares a new Genya look ahead of the movie premiere. I think lots of fans are just waiting for the date on the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a new look in the poster for Genya, and let's see here. So it'll be hitting theaters across Japan on July 18th and will come to movie theaters in the United States and Canada beginning on September 12th. Wow, that's a long time.
Yep. But hey, luckily there's no shortage of anime up until then, so I think folks are going to be okay. Possibly. This streaming service has become an anime fan's dream thanks to the 800 hours of free editions, according to this article, including a Bleach movie marathon. And what streaming service is this, you might ask? Pluto TV. Which, yeah, I can confirm there's a lot of anime on Pluto TV with certain specific channels. But apparently there is a 24/7 Inuyasha channel that has already started, and I did know that. There is a Bleach movie marathon that's going to start on May 17th. And there's a Hunter x Hunter movie, because I think there was a channel for that already. And looks like, One Piece is going to return, and Fire Force Season 3 is going to hit Netflix in July, according to this article. So there you go. And also they mentioned Sakamoto Days and a couple other stories. So yeah. Next up.
John Wick's director breaks down how he got to design action on Lazarus, the funnest job. Goodness. The most fun job he's ever done. Let's see here. So apparently, anime legend Shinichiro Watanabe and his team reached out to John Wick franchise director Chad Stahelski and his team, hoping that Stahelski's action studio 8711 would be able to give some pointers for the action design for his upcoming anime Lazarus. And Stahelski was more than happy to do it.
Have you watched any of Lazarus?
No, I have not. I guess I'm gonna have to add it to my list.
Yeah, same. I've been meaning to. I got it on deck. I just hadn't. But I mean, you know, hey, it's fair to call Watanabe a legend at this point with the stuff that folks like and that's out there. So sure, why not? Solo Leveling voice actor quote snuck in a line from the manhwa that was way too good not to include, and fans react to that choice apparently. I still need to catch up on Solo Leveling, so I have no idea which does it. And I know I've read a good bit of the manhwa, but I don't remember if what it is. So, taking to TikTok, the voice behind Sung Jin-woo recalled one moment specifically when the legendary hunter plays it cool went up against the Ant King. When asked if he's the king of humans, Jin-woo replies, "Cute. They got bugs that can talk now." Which is taken from the original manhwa. As he explained, so this line was from the manhwa, and I thought it was way too good not to include, so we snuck it in there. And apparently, as I'm seeing in chat, one Von Gloom joins us in the chat. What's up, Von Gloom?
How are you?
How you been, sir? Yes. So just to get to a couple of things before we move on. Oh, yes, Pluto TV does have Bleach, or will have Bleach. And I can also confirm Inuyasha. The Lupin channel I had not seen, but I guess, yeah, that's something. And he, Banglo mentions a couple other channels that are definitely on that. He mentions Lazarus is a slow burn, but is low-key boring to him. He mentions he's super late. He also mentions that Lazarus is slower than Bebop and Samurai Champloo. And that SilverHawks was unexpectedly violent. So
Yeah.
Hey, but it was good in that though. Yeah, yeah. You know, that's an Ed Brisson thing because if there's anything he's gonna do, he's gonna throw some violence up in the some near graphic violence up in the mix. So there's a thing. So, and it's all good, man. You know, we knew you would be here if you could or not. So you're all good. You know. You're all good. But continuing with the news, actually. Wait, is this yeah, this is you. Sorry. The Gundam story.
Be right there. I was just looking to see where Lazarus is streaming. Is it on Max? It looks like it's on Max.
I think that's the case. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, next up, Gundam G Quacks brings back G Gundam's most fun element, but apparently it isn't fun anymore. That's some editorial commentary right there. Let's see. What do they bring back? So G Gundam was about tournament-style battles where pilots fight against each other in one-on-one duels with their mecha. Let's see here. So Gundam v Gundam fights are now back with Gundam G-Quacks. So these are now clan battles as opposed to like a sanctioned competition used by Earth's governments. All right.
Right. So and G-Quacks is illegal, and G Gundam it was basically how they handle things in the world. And again, G Gundam slightly bonkers, but. And Von Gloom confirms, yes, Lazarus is on Max on Sunday mornings. I guess cool. When the new episode comes out. So, cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, G Gundam was just insane. Yeah. I didn't want to go that route with it, but yes, you're absolutely right. We're in the manga corner, speaking of Gundam, Gundam Val Purchase Eve manga ends on May 26th. In the June issue of Katakawa's Gundam Ace magazine. Apparently that's when this was announced. Let's see. The manga miniseries story is a prequel to the original Mobile Suit Gundam Val Purchase manga. Let's see. And this article goes into the history of said manga. So there you go. I had never heard of this one, so that's a new one on me. So, but I'm sure somebody out there knows about it. Next up, we get into comic book news.
Alrighty, so Alliance Entertainment is suing Diamond again. Let's see here. So in a blockbuster filing late Monday, Alliance Entertainment sued Diamond Comic Distributors and related companies for the second time, and this time also sued investment bank Raymond James, restructuring consultants Getzler, Henrik and Associates LLC, and Alliance Game Distributors co-CEOs Charlie Tyson and Dan Hirsch. So the lawsuit alleges that the defendants intentionally concealed the fact that the distribution contract between Alliance Game Distributors and Wizards of the Coast was ending until after the asset purchase agreement was signed and approved by the court. The impact would be roughly 25% of Alliance Game Distributor sales, or 39.88 million out of 161.3 million. The lawsuit alleges. Okay, so so apparently Diamond disclosed to Alliance Entertainment that the agreement with Wizards of the Coast would expire on April 30th and would not be renewed, and that's a big chunk, I guess, of Diamond's business.
Mm-hmm. And to answer Von Gloom's question, no, they are not dead. Somebody actually, there was a backup bid that that was taken, so they are still kicking and trying to get back into the swing of things, basically. So do they have any more money to give? They will now. A villain seeks vengeance in IDW's new Shredder series. So TMNT Shredder is the new series by Dan Waters and emerging artist Michelle Bandini. Let's see. According to this press release on this article, the first and most iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain, Oroku Saki, aka Shredder, is making his terrifying return this summer, and he wants one thing: revenge. So let's see, when is this thing going to be? Long press release. Wednesday, August 13th is the first issue, with pre-order deadline of Monday, July 7th, if anyone's interested in ordering before final cutoff. There you go. Next up.
All right, James 3. Okay. And Carlo Lauro team up for a Powerpuff Girls Supervillain Summer Spectacular comic coming up in July 2025. So apparently James 3, a lifelong fan, relishes writing for Powerpuff Girls, collaborating with Carlo Lauro. The issue features exclusive cardstock variant covers by Lauro, Silvia Di Ventura, and George Cambadeas. Okay. Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. I hear that book's actually doing pretty well, weirdly enough. VR Troopers, get an exclusive first look at Power Rangers Prime spinoff. So, Von Gloom, did you get anything for Free Comic Book Day? If you did, what? So yeah, VR Troopers are getting a book. There is, I believe there was a Free Comic Book Day. That's why other reason why I asked, where there's a preview of that's around. Actually, I can't remember if that was one of the books I got. That might be. I don't remember. But yeah, we knew that Boom Studios was going to do, or that they had announced that there was a spinoff of VR. There's going to be a spinoff of Power Rangers Prime, which is going to be VR Troopers, since they were reintroduced in that book, basically. And VR Troopers, apparently, according to this article, is a 6-issue series, with the first issue releasing on June 2025. And of course, as one would say in this situation, we are VR. That's me saying that. Any talk about about the X-Men of the Apocalypse with Jeff Loeb? No, I don't think so. If I have something on that, it's in there, but I don't think I do because there's a lot of stuff that came out in the last couple of weeks. Next up, and matter of fact, here's what he's talking about right here. Or Jeff Loeb writes an Age of Apocalypse sequel, X-Men of the Apocalypse, September 2025. There you go. I will throw that in the show notes. But the actual, the actual next story was.
One second. The Energon Universe is set to launch the Quintesson War in November 2025. Okay. So yeah, this is, I guess, part of the solicitations for the later part of this year.
Also, I believe coming off of that Free Comic Book Day book.
Got it.
Basically, actually more so than So,
all right. So the Quintesson War is set to begin in Void Rivals number 25.
Yeah, which I had a chance to read that book yet because that was one of the ones I picked up. But hey, I'll get to it. The Energon Universe is so good, says Von Gloom. I agree. I'm just gonna throw this in here. I'm not gonna put it in the show notes, but I know Agent 70 and Von Gloom was interested in this possibly. Mary Jane and Paul no longer doing it, and the spoilers for all new Venom number 6 apparently. So apparently they were having sex and now they're not, and which comes up in all new Venom number 6, of course written by Al Ewing. It makes some sense. Some preview pages right there. There you go. Rejoice, or at least partially rejoice. Yeah. But sad news, Jackson Butch Guice, I guess that's how you pronounce his name.
I think it's Guice, but I haven't really heard anyone say his name out loud, so
gotcha. But either way, he's a name that if you've been a long time DC and Marvel, fan, you have probably seen his art somewhere. If you're of a certain age. So let's see. He was an acclaimed he was an artist for Marvel and DC since the early 80s and co-creator of the iconic X-Men villain Apocalypse. Speaking of, he's passed away at the age of 63, according to a social media message from Guice's brother-in-law, James Attell. He had recently been dealing with some health struggles. So, and the article goes into his history, which includes Micronauts, X Factor, The Flash, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Deathlock, Superman, etc., 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 etc. So yeah, if you've been around comics for a good while and reading the big two, you probably come across some of his work. So rest in peace. Next up. Von Gloom, you silly for that one. Talking about you lost your chick to a symbiote. Anyway, oops.
I'm just reading this article very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. So, Godzilla and Marvel have created the ultimate kaiju fusion. I mean, we got one in the Spidey crossover. So apparently, let's see here. Okay, so it's just a variant cover. It seems the King of Monsters has been bombarded by cosmic rays as he's grown rock-hard skin to make him look a little bit more like Benji Grimm. So the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. So yeah, this is a variant cover, and it looks like Godzilla has the Thing's rock-hard skin. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
And his blue eyes, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. This was exciting news for me. Joe Quesada, and I don't know why Priest's name is not first, but yeah. Joe Quesada and Christopher Priest introduced the future king of Wakanda in Marvel Knights: The World to Come #2. So, yeah, the Marvel Knights: The World to Come is a new series from Joe Quesada and Christopher Priest which launches this June. Let's see. They will reunite alongside color artist Richard Isanove, or Isanove, I'm not sure, to tell an all-new epic through the lens. An all-new epic through the lens of the groundbreaking Marvel Knights imprint. It is set in the future. Again, 6 issues. It will introduce new version of Marvel heroes, as well as those that follow in their footsteps. Let's see, this is a MarvelArticle.com article, so apparently, you can get us a good preview cover art for issue #2 that you can see right here if you're watching the video version. Excuse me. Von Gloom says Thingzilla looks cool, and I guess Mechazilla Iron Man is next. Probably not. Next up, though.
So new Imperial #1 details reveal transformation is coming to Marvel Comics. Okay. Let's get this open.
Every time I think Imperial, I think of the butter. That's just me.
So Marvel Comics has released new details and cover art for Imperial. It's a 4-issue series by Jonathan Hickman and artists Federico Vicentini and Iban Coelho. Due out on June 4th, the Imperial #1 covers feature all the major players involved in the wars to come, including Hulk and She-Hulk, who apparently return to Sakaar to restore order, Nova and Star-Lord, who team up to prevent the galaxy from falling into the worst hands, and the Shi'ar, who will be torn asunder in a battle for the throne. That's what I always thought was going to be the central conflict in this. So interesting. And I'm glad that it's only a 4-issue series. So that means things are going to be rocking at a pretty good pace.
Right. And it's going to be Hickman. There's going to be mumbo jumbo galore, probably.
Tons of it.
Because you got to pack a lot in 4 issues. I mean, they're probably going to get at least 30 pages at least, I would assume, but I don't know. I can't assume
There's
that.
going to be tons of mumbo jumbo in this.
Mm-hmm. Pardon my ignorance, but I thought Sakaar blew up. I never read Planet Hulk, so I don't know.
I honestly have lost track of what's happened to Sakaar, to be perfectly honest.
Gotcha. Either way, hey, I'm still kind of actually looking forward to this. Von Gloom says, I need to know how the hell the Hulks have an empire. Well, sir, you will find out in June. Black Cat goes from super thief to superhero in new solo series from G. Willow Wilson, yay, and Gleb Melnikov. So yeah, Felicia's back. Jed McKay's not writing this time. Let's see. This arc is, as I said, Black Cat is back with a new ongoing solo series written by superstar. This is again a Marvel article written by superstar writer G. Willow Wilson, Miss Marvel, and drawn by rising star Gleb Melnikov, Amazing Spider-Man, spinning directly out of Joe Kelly, Pepper Larraz, and John Romita Jr.'s Amazing Spider-Man. From this year. Black Cat kicks off with Felicia testing her luck at being a full-fledged superhero. I mean, probably has also something to do with the Avengers, the recent Avengers issues, probably also, maybe. That's just me. So anyway, the first supervillain on her list is the Lizard. And yeah, so there you go. There's the first cover for Black Cat, and again, that goes on sale August 20th. Huh, interesting. And there you go. Von Gloom says data sheets upon data sheets. Yes. And he confirmed that Sakaar did blow up. That's why Hulk and the Warbound were pissed. I kind of thought because they ended up coming to Earth. I thought, and I was like, Either way, maybe I'll read Planet Hulk one of these days. Next up, though.
So Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man #1 delivers a star-studded Marvel Comics summer celebration. This is a Marvel article. So this June, experience Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man #1. So it's going to be like a all-star group of creators, including Kevin Smith, Al Ewing, Chip Zdarsky, Giuseppe Camuncoli, Mark Buckingham, Cafu, with a cover by Greg Capullo. This is going to be on sale June 11th.
Yeah. Apparently, there's going to be a new hero introduced in this also. So I like this cover. If you're watching the video version, you know it's while it is Amazing Spider-Man, there's a gang of other people on this cover. So there you go. And apparently, yeah, some preview pages also. Next up, though, Marvel teams up with don't get my hopes up. Marvel teams up with Fantagraphics for Never Collected Lost Marvels. Let's see. I'm not sure what that line under the title is supposed to be about, but okay, sure. So let's see. This line is going to be reviving rare, never collected comics in deluxe hardcovers. First up, Tower of Shadows Anthology, collecting all 9 issues with art by Steranko, Adams, and more. There's going to be follow-up volumes, including Howard Chaykin's Dominic Fortune, Monarch Stalker, and 1980s Savage Tales. So, yeah, series highlights forgotten non-superhero Marvel work from the 60s, 70s, and 80s for newer generations, according to this article. So, yeah, that could be of some interest to some folks, I guess. Bonglum says, the Lizard versus Black Cat seems like a mismatch. Hey, you know, it's all in how you write them, fam. All in how you write them. Next up,
Stan Lee's daughter, J.C. Lee, has settled a multi-million-dollar lawsuit she filed against the man who oversaw Stan Lee's memorabilia dealings, that is, in the final years of his life. So the suit accused Mac, aka Max Anderson, of siphoning more than $11.6 million in autograph revenue, and accused him of also taking $10.2 million in revenue from appearance fees at comic book events. So Anderson denied the allegations, and apparently they've come to a settlement.
yay. Next up, Batman the animated series Hardak figure is coming soon from McFarlane Toys. So if you're watching the video version, there you go. If you remember the episode where there was a computer basically making robotic versions of people, yeah, that thing. But apparently we get the Batman version right there. So there you go. And there's, I guess, it looks like a Bruce Wayne Build-A-Figure at the end of whatever line this is going to be. So, is there a price? Probably is, and I don't see it. Moving right along. Next up. Oh wait, nope. The Hardak is in Target stores right now for $30, along with Poison Ivy, Bane, and Phantasm. So there you go. Next up.
All right, the United States Mint has announced it's launching a coin series featuring Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in collaboration with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers Discovery, I'm sorry. The first hero getting the coin treatment is Superman, revealed during a ceremonial strike event held at the Mint in Philadelphia. Okay, the coins come in gold and silver. You know, these are collectible coins. We haven't gotten all the proposed design. We haven't gotten notice of what the designs are yet for the rest.
And, yeah,
But we've gotten the Superman.
Yeah, if you're watching the video version, you can see the Superman, the front and back of the Superman one, which hey, doesn't look bad. But you can safely say Warner Brothers is still trying to get that coin. Boom, boom.
Uh,
3-0 unveils new Transformers Beast Wars Optimus Primal Deluxe. Let's see. It's going to be limited to 1,600 pieces. It's going to stand 11.2 inches tall with 74 articulation points, LED eyes, and die-cast frame. It's a lost art. You can see. Is this? Yes. So this is the movie version of Optimus Primal, not the animated show version. So, boo. Next up.
3-0 is known for its stylized renditions of classic Generation 1 Transformers. Now the third-party company is releasing its take on an emergency Autobot from season 2 of the original cartoon. So this is MDLX Red Alert repaint, which retools the company's previous Sideswipe figure because they're based off the same car. So this is a recast of that Sideswipe figure in Red Alert's fire response-based color scheme. Okay.
Looks pretty cool, actually. Yeah. Gundam's most beloved mecha gets modern updates and classic design with 2025's new, quote, Universe series release. So the cutting-edge new universal reaction frame for the Gundam Universe line is set to give fans even greater collectibles. With these toys boasting the line's best array of articulation and malleability, 3 of them hail from different Gundam series, giving the next level in engineering to mobile suits from various generations. Set to be released later this year, these collectibles are certain to be some of the best and most affordable toys in the Gundam Universe line yet, according to this article. Von Gloom says, "Ew, tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes." I'm not sure what that was supposed to be about, but but that's funny. So we've got Gundam Wing here, or is that Wing Zero? It's one of those two. Either way, it doesn't matter. The classic RX 78.2. There's the Iron Blooded Orphans one. There's one from Mobile Suit Fighter G Gundam, which again is kind of bonkers. Let's see. Unlike most of the collectibles in the series, which are buildable plastic model kits, these are 150 to 160 millimeter pre-assembled action figures that require no such construction. They do, however, come with several unique accessories and weapons based on their particular anime. So there you go. Cool for those folks. Next up.
All right. We had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle news from NECA over the last week or so. They've released their Super Turtle 7-inch scale figure, which was seen in, which is based on a character seen in Tales of the TMNT number 5. So this is Super Turtle, very much Superman-esque. That's available directly from NECA. They also released details on a figure for the TMNT Archie Comics line, which is the April Turtle 7-inch scale figure, which was based on a character seen in Winter 1994 of the mystery 5th Turtle. And lastly, there is a figure, 7-inch figure, based on the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics from Mirage Studios, and a Hunter Leonardo depiction from that issue from issue number 7. That is issue number 11.
So no Venus de Milo. Interesting. The movie Prado got booed. Gotcha. Okay. Iron Studio sees eye to eye with Powerline from a Goofy movie. Apparently they're making another Goofy movie, as we found out recently. But a Goofy movie is 30 years old, folks. Thanks for making it old. Let's see. It's 1/10 art scale statue. Powerline was voiced by Teffer Campbell, as most people know. See, the statue is 9.5 inches and it features Powerline's iconic yellow jumpsuit and a themed concert bass. It is $229 and will be released in Q3 of this year, 2025. So if you got that kind of money to pay for something like this, give me that money. I don't know. Or, I mean, yeah, sure. Have at it. So I know there's a lot of people who love the fuck out of the Goofy movie. So this is for them. Last but not least, as Von Gloom says, Ayuk.
Oh, okay. Nichelle Nichols Space Camp opens its doors in January 2026, and it's apparently the closest thing to a real-life Starfleet Academy as seen in Star Trek, which is inspired. Now, this is inspired by the legacy of Nichelle Nichols, who played the iconic Lieutenant Nyota Uhura in the original series. So this is committed to giving young women an education and future careers in STEAM, not STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Let's see.
Yeah, they added one.
This is right. So this is for girls 14 to 18. And so apparently the Nichelle Nichols Space Camp is a partnership between the Nichelle Nichols Foundation and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Which cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
So it's a 3-day program. Yeah, I'm just like, I have to, the way this article is written, it's all very spaced out. So I'm scrolling to get details.
I hate when they do that.
Looking for, I mean, we know that it launches in January 2026. So look for more details on this.
Yep, there's a link down at the bottom, and there's also a I guess a trailer or something in this article talking about it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That is very cool. Yes, Von Gloom, 30 years. I've never seen the Goofy movie, so that's for you younger folks, I guess. And with that, folks, that's it with the news section. We got one last ad read. Oh wait, did you have any Tory thing or anything? No. Okay, yeah, last ad read.
Not this week. Our last ad read of the night. It's late. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, the CSPN link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
And that's it, folks, for our first post Skype show. Little bruises and bumps here, and sadly more editing than I wanted to do that I'm going to have to do later on tonight. But hey, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, as they say. We'll be back next week. More Andor. That's it for right now. It's gonna be the last set, actually.
Yep.
And actually, I think that's gonna be it until FF comes out. Correct?
Yeah, I was gonna say there might be like a little bit of a delay. I think I'll be on movie protocol for Mission Impossible, but that might just delay the show by like a day or two. But that might be the next time.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I as I was sitting in the theater watching that, I was like, you know what, I might. I mean, but I would, if I was going to do it, it was going to be early for me, so it wouldn't have, But I wasn't sure whether you were going to do that or not for that movie. So
right.
But yeah, stay tuned. We'll let folks know if that actually does happen or whatnot. But that being said, I've been your friend in the neighborhood, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Yeah, you missed it. We didn't. Yeah, and don't worry about it. The VOD's out there, so you can check that out. But yeah, we didn't really go too far into it because we had a lot to kind of talk about, but
Right, and
It's
we
out there.
spoiled less than what Marvel Studios did.
basically. Agent _70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's ESPN.us.
Do it today.
You want to say des. You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. And you can also find our show mostly every Thursday night when we record 9:30. We should probably change that because hell, we've been pushing 10 like forever at this point. But we're
aiming for 9:30. We just fail all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. We gotta, I guess, try to get better about that. But sometimes some things can't be helped. Regardless, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube.com/TheKliqNation and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are on broadcasting live and direct.
Oh, and looks like we are 2 away from 50 followers on Twitch for all the good that's going to do us now that they have changed some things.
Oh, no.
But regardless, that's cool because we could probably, well, I mean, mostly everything we put up is on YouTube at this point anyway. So outside of like, actual gaming streams that'll be done and will be done. Most of the stuff you can check the archives of the Kliq Nation on YouTube to catch the, any of the shows and the, treasury editions and all that kind of good jazz. So anyway, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.